The styling and shaping of said metal, the plastic parts like the fenders, wheel arches and even the hard top, all so much better done than before. The daytime running lights on the fenders are a nice touch, but having xenons or LED headlamps as an optional extra at least would also have been nice. The LED tail lights are a nice design detail, as is the split tailgate. And yes, the exposed door hinges and rugged wheels are very much in keeping with the Thar. I began by driving the car on tarmac with a highway run. The diesel has the 2.2 common rail unit that makes 130 bhp. It also has 300 Nm of peak torque that kicks in nice and early at 1600 rpm and travels in a wide band to 2800 rpm. So even though, like on the last car, the focus is on low-end torque, you get more of it on the new one. And so the engine feels very pliable and the gearbox marries to it nicely. It's also a new manual transmission that the Thar gets, and yes, it is progressive, a 6-speed. Turning down the radio with steering mounted controls, I have a rear windscreen defogger, cruise control. Yeah, it wasn't so long ago you wouldn't have expected or even thought or dreamt of any of this being on a Mahindra Thar. A 6-speed gearbox? Yes, I think I'm dreaming. And that's the point. The car has just gone from here to there in terms of refinement levels. I think that's the thing that's going to stick out straight away to you. Almost comes on and slaps you in the face because you don't expect it. You don't expect it to this level. The ride quality, very sorted. The car feels really planted and almost plush. It also has a very comfortable feel Everything is smooth, everything is refined, there are no vibrations anywhere. Just the whole experience has been elevated, and the diesel engine certainly has been worked on. It is so much more refined than the previous one. It's also a little bit quieter, and in all this, does it compromise performance? Well, off-road, certainly not. On the road too, definitely not. So which means when you're driving on the highway, you will find that it is very comfortable. The only thing that's going to sort of maybe be a negative in my book, not loving the brakes. They could have been a little bit more precise. It is disc brakes up front, drums in the rear. So yes, the brakes are not sharp enough and lack the bite I wanted. This was even more worrying once it began to rain, and then they felt even more squidgy. But speaking of rain, Ameya has the car in what is currently India's rain capital in many ways. So let's check in on him and the petrol.
The Thar finally gets a petrol engine, and it makes it the most powerful Thar that has ever come about. 150 brake horsepower coming out of that 2-liter turbocharged petrol engine. It's also the first time that an mStallion engine is part of the lineup. Now, the mStallion family of engines was first showcased at the Auto Expo 2020. The Thar is the first vehicle to get that very turbocharged engine. Now, the advantages of having a turbocharged engine is that the turbo kicks in as low as 1500 RPM, and the automatic transmission, which the company has sourced from ASIN, actually works well with that engine, to give you that sufficient power at your disposal. And yes, that makes it more powerful, and that's exactly what you want from a car like this. You want power at your disposal. There is a slight lag below 1500 RPM, but negligible in what we can say, and it just manages to give you that power even at lower RPMs. So even during traffic conditions, it is pretty nice to drive because you have that power at your disposal, and you know that that 6-speed gearbox does not disappoint.
The car handles much better than before. The stiffness and short wheelbase give it good road manners, and it does even better around corners now than the old car did. Ride quality is just a million times better too, as I have said before. Okay, so we'll get back to Ameya and his mStallion in a bit. Well, that's hardly a challenge for that car, right? The Thar has always been the car that could go anywhere. We've had lots of fun with it here on the show. But now the real question is that while this one looks the part, can it do all of this? There's only one way to find out. So first I want to say that the original Thar could do way more than what you are seeing on your screen now. But we want to get a feel for the new one's capability. So while this is not hardcore off-roading, I am still putting it through some of the paces. And now time to do the same and a bit more with the newbie. The Thar is every bit as capable, and that is obvious right away. Needless to say, we did not have off-road tires on either car, but the 4x4 system is spot on. The Thar has a dedicated torque split transfer case, a mechanical rear diff, and an easy-to-use shift on fly. I did not need to engage four-wheel drive all through and rarely had to go to 4 low. The suspension is well tuned and very forgiving. Comfort is not compromised much, even though the chassis is pretty stiff on the whole. The Thar has an approach angle of 41.2 degrees on the AX with 16-inch wheels and 41.8 degrees on the LX. The departure angle is 36 and 36.8 degrees respectively. The ramp over angle is at 26.2 for the AX and 27 degrees for the LX, which has those 18-inch wheels, remember. The ground clearance therefore is also at 226mm for the LX and 219mm for the AX. The car's water wading capability stands at a 650mm depth. To put that into context, the new Range Rover Evoque can do 600mm, while the mighty new Land Rover Defender does 900mm. Well, this is not the car to get if you want all the bells and whistles, I suppose, and the camera housing would have to be really tough to survive all this. Well, you do get the car's real-time adventure readouts, meaning it will show you the lateral and longitudinal position of the vehicle. The same screen setting shows you engine output in its on-road avatar. But for those of you asking if this is Mahindra's answer to the Creta or Seltos, or even the Venue and EcoSport, I give you the XUV 300. Having said that, I do think the more urban and daily drive appeal of the new Thar over the last one will attract some of those customers anyway. So it's time to check in once again on Ameya, who will tell you how much more appealing the cabin has become.
The interior of the Thar has come a long way. In fact, there are well-bolstered seats, ones that are washable. So yes, you can go out, do your off-roading bit, come back, hose it down, and they are as good as new. In fact, there are several other buttons here which are very ergonomical, right from the aircon to even this 7-inch touchscreen infotainment system, which is right here up top for you to see. This is the first time it gets a touchscreen infotainment system with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and of course there is an MID right here. So for your viewing capability, because it gives you all the information at your disposal, and the driver knows exactly what's happening with the car, right from distance to empty to Tiretronics to even in fact how much mileage you're getting. But all of that is all new to the Thar, and that's what makes this one special, and the quality in this one has just gone up several notches. But while this half is pretty much comfortable for a lot of people, what does the back seats have in store? Let's go and check out how comfortable or not they are. When it comes to rear leg room, there is a decent amount of it. I mean, for a big person like me, there isn't much, but it's all right. I mean, I cannot do long journeys in this one for sure, because I'll be very uncomfortable. There's decent thigh support, a lumbar support is pretty good too, but your space gets constrained because of the wheel wells here, and it just eats into a lot of space, which is why you get cramped for space even sitting here. But overall, there's enough headroom. There is roof mounted speakers as well, which just make you enjoy at the back, especially when you're listening to music. All of that said, it is not bad. If you want more space to put stuff in, I mean, if there are just 3 people and you're going out, then of course Mahindra has given these 50-50 split at the back, so you can just pull a cord and voila, there's more space for luggage, as well as sometimes you want to transport certain things, so you have enough space for that. Overall then, space is a constraint for a big person like me, but children I don't think should have a problem at all at the back.
That said, a full flat fold down on the rear bench would be a smarter idea. And honestly, this back seat does work well for kids. The ISOFIX child seat anchors are a great idea and they are standard. Dual airbags and anti-lock brake or ABS are also standard, while the top end also gets electronic stability control or ESC. The AX version still gets side-facing rear benches and no seat belts on those, obviously. Meanwhile, let's get back to the two cars, old and new. And I have managed to get them both nice and dirty. But many of you will agree with me, that is how a Thar looks best. Muddy and rugged. Now, while I will have a separate video about how these two actually differ, and watch out for that one, let me clear the air on that front grille. The 7-slot grille comes from the original Mahindra Jeep. You've seen it over the years. Lots of vehicles have used it in different shapes and sizes, always 7. But that's where Mahindra has been running into some problem with Jeep, because of course the original license comes from there, and while Mahindra claims it has the idea very well crystallized in terms of what it can use, Jeep has been contesting that the last few months in the US with the Roxor and in general with the patent infringement it claims on its 7-slot grille. And so a very different grille on this Thar. And while I think all the purists, all the Thar lovers would have loved to see something like this come out here, even if it was shorter, what you're seeing has been deliberately done to try and just be a little bit safe on that front. And so there are a few things going on in my mind now. Maybe it could be a 5-slot grille. It doesn't have to be 7. It would still perhaps look nicer than this. You've got to react and tell me, because there are some people who just see this as a new design direction, but there are others who think it takes away from the fact that this is a Thar. It has to have that vertical slot grille. The only other thing that I can think of is a lot of people, if this is the one that finally makes it to the market, there's going to be a lot of people very busy in the aftermarket industry providing you with that accessory, because you better believe it, many owners will want one. So that then, ladies and gentlemen, is the all-new Mahindra Thar. I expect pricing to range between 9,75,000 and 13,50,000 rupees ex-showroom. The launch, of course, is on the 2nd of October, just like the feedback we've got from all of you here at home. I think that Mahindra has the potential to go even more plush and offer us a more glitzy version of the Thar still. The Thar family, and yes, it should be a family, has plenty of room to grow. And if I were Mahindra and Mahindra, I would waste no time in ensuring the family procreates quickly